Hey everyone, welcome to Patriot's Soapbox, where I give you my commentary on the news of the day as reported by the Wall Street Journal. The cover picture today depicts people in Hong Kong lining up at the polling offices to vote on Sunday. So the election was held, there's an election held there for district council seats, and overwhelmingly, the citizens supported the pro-democracy candidates, soundly rejecting Beijing's incursion onto their turf. Now, technically, Hong Kong, as I said before, is part of China, but it's semi-autonomous. It has considerable control over a wide range of things, but still, from a foreign policy perspective and international relations perspective, it's still a part of China. But they are, but China tried to crack down on them and make them less autonomous. That did not fly well with them, and that's why we have all these protests going on in China right now. Because of the incident I mentioned last week about President Trump pardoning a Navy SEAL who killed a 12-year-old ISIS fighter in 2017, because of an uproar between President Trump and the Pentagon, his Secretary of Defense fired the Secretary of the Navy. So that's while the pardon is well within President Trump's powers, and their Constitution gives no specifications on how he can use that pardon, it's still often questioned why the president pardons the people he chooses to pardon. But hey, hopefully the pardoning of the turkey this week won't face the same sort of scrutiny and criticism. Another news, and shifting news over to the elections, Michael Bloomberg has officially decided to run in for the 2020 presidential election. Before, he was just considering it, kind of like how Howard Schultz launched his committee and then decided not to. But Bloomberg's actually decided to do so. Now, here's one critical feature that separates Bloomberg from the other candidates. Well, he's the third billionaire in the race, so it's not much of a distinguishing factor because Trump and Tom Steyer are already in the race. But Bloomberg, with his net worth $54 billion, is refusing to accept donations of any kind. I mean, that's not exactly new to hear, because Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are refusing to accept big money donations from corporations and stuff like that, and similar organizations. But unlike Warren and Sanders, who are still accepting small dollar donations from individuals, not corporations and unions and whatnot, Bloomberg is accepting nothing, no donations whatsoever. He's paying for the entire thing himself. He has $54 billion, and election spending doesn't always pass. It's rarely ever passed that. I mean, it's only been in recent years that total election spending has crossed $1 billion, and Hillary Clinton didn't even reach a full $1 billion in campaign spending. Trump didn't even reach $500 million. But yeah, Bloomberg has plenty of money, and so he can fund his own campaign. So could Trump. But Trump did accept donations. So yeah, that's great because he doesn't. Then he won't owe anyone anything. He won't be committed to anyone, and there won't be any sort of campaign finance violation lawsuits and whatnot. But there is one glaring problem. According to the Democratic Party's rules, for every debate, you have to have a certain number of donors and receive a certain amount of donors in a certain amount of states, and have raised a certain amount of money. And the stakes get high. Those numbers get higher and higher and higher as it gets closer and closer to the primaries and the general election. But Bloomberg, since he's not accepting donors at all, he will not technically qualify for the debates. I mean, maybe they'll make an exception for him. Probably not, but you never know. They could make an exception and let Bloomberg go in. But yeah, if he's not accepting any donors, then he's not going to get in the debates. So, sucks to be him. Well, not really, because he could just accept donations. Then Dunkin' Donuts, in other domestic news, Dunkin' Donuts is dying to get rid of their classic foam cups, and New England will be gone by December. And but nationwide, they'll be gone by by 2020, like sometime 2020. Some people are not too thrilled with that because some people don't. They actually still like the foam cups. Personally, I think the sound of people touching styrofoam is horrendous. So, but maybe that's just me. Maybe it's my weird thing. But yeah, these people are saying that we don't hate the environment. We just like the foam cups. They're Duncan's thing. Foam cups. They've always had foam cups. And now people are actually hoarding foam cups, which is kind of weird, but kind of clever actually, because some of them are really committed to using these foam cups. Like some of them will put their will take their the clear plastic cups that you get for cold beverages and stick it in a foam cup, so it's like a little thermos. Or some people, and then some people when their cups are breaking, they'll just duct tape the whole thing so they say, "I forget it. It's like beyond repair." So that's a serious level of dedication that Duncan should take note of. I mean, because if people are that devoted to the paper cups, then maybe Duncan shouldn't get rid of them. Because if they get rid of them, then that might be bad for business. Help every op-ed section, there's one entitled "End Forever Wars and Face China's Threat." It says that the United States spent a bit too much has spent a bit too much time in wars like Iraq and Afghanistan and other failed nation building wars, and not enough time focusing on the growing threat posed by China. Because China, like it says, the U.S. shouldn't be. The author says the U.S. shouldn't aspire to be like global hegemon or world policeman, but at least should step up to make sure China doesn't fill that role. Because China would have much more, shall we say, ambitious plans. Like there's already sort of a third wave of colonization in Africa. First wave would be the Arab colonization in the medieval period. Second one, the European one in the 18 and 1900s. And then the third one would be now China, going into Africa, loaning money to the government so they can build infrastructure, and then tapping the resources there like gold, rare earth metals, oil, etc. And so as they're gobbling up that, and as they're trying to dominate other regions around the world, the U.S. is busy in wars that will arguably never end. So the point is, we should instead of the government focusing on these forever wars, should instead be focusing on combating a legitimate foe, like someone who could pose quite a larger threat. And this is one I found fascinating. That an op-ed entitled "The Left Shrugs at Impeachment." Like, one thing, for example, the socialist magazine Jacobin, they haven't run an article about Trump at all this month. Or, like, not impeachment, not Trump, nothing. Because, by and large, the political left is largely indifferent to impeachment. Because, it's like, if they got rid of Trump, if they got rid of, well, first of all, you got rid of Trump and then impeach Pence as well because he'd be next in line. Then you have Speaker Pelosi as president, and she's liberal, but she's not like how you say it, like she's not Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez liberal, but but the political left wants an AOC liberal to be in charge, not so someone like Sanders, arguably Warren, not Pelosi, because the other thing they don't like is like the establishment politicians, quote unquote, the elite. Because Nancy Pelosi is like undoubtedly the elite. She's been in politics at least since Reagan was president. So that's 3 going on 4 decades now. That's they're probably tired. They're probably tired of Pelosi. They actually didn't want Pelosi to be speaker for this Congress, but the political leadership managed to get the freshmen to go along with it, and she's speaker. So, for better or for worse, Nancy Pelosi is Speaker of the House. But the left and really progressives they don't really want to focus on impeachment so much as they do on actual issues like whether Trump's the Muslim travel ban, where he banned travel from certain Muslim countries, that child separation policy at the border, which by the way was an Obama policy that nobody cared when he did it, so what's the concern if Trump does it? And then potential violations of the emoluments clause, meaning like the lost the legal statute that says the president can't accept gifts from foreign governments, and they say that the violation of the emoluments clause is that Trump he hasn't divested himself of his holdings in his business, and he regularly has foreign officials stay at his hotels when they visit the U.S., which makes sense because if he has a hotel or a nice house, the least he could do to show respect to a foreign diplomat would be to say, "Hey, you want to stay at my place?" Apparently, that's bad. But yeah, they'd rather focus on things like that. But impeachment's taking up the whole show. Like President Trump wanted to get the U.S. Mexico Canada agreement, which is supposed to replace NAFTA, voted on by the end of this year. Pelosi said ain't gonna happen because they want to focus on impeachment. So the political left, the reason why they don't like Trump. Like obviously the political left doesn't like Trump, but they also don't like the centrist Democrats. They think Trump's like the enemy, and centrist Democrats and the Democratic elite, so Pelosi and Clinton's type of people, they're sort of like traitors. So they're the ones more willing to cooperate with, unbelievably, they're the ones willing to cooperate with Republicans, and they don't want that. So yeah, Trump's the enemy. Pelosi is a backstabber to the political left, and so they'd rather get on with the whole thing and instead start advancing their own policy. Then there's an article condemning the students who rushed onto the field at halftime at the Harvard-Yale football game over the weekend, because it was on Saturday. A bunch of protesters stormed the field, and their cause was that they wanted both schools to give up their investments in they wanted them to divest from fossil fuels, like stop investing in or receiving donations from fossil fuel companies. And obviously Elizabeth Warren, who's Harvard's in her state, Massachusetts, they obviously Warren supported the protesters, but Harvard says, while they agree on the urgency of ending the use of fossil fuels, they disagree with the protesters on how to do so. Like they don't think that they should divest of their fossil fuels. They don't think that. And also it's just rude to disrupt the football game. I mean, it wasn't like it was a combined effort of every student. It was just a bunch of lunatics, while everyone else had the game disrupted by about an hour. And Yale apparently doesn't have lights in their stadium, which means that the game had to be played at 8 in almost complete dark because of the protest. Thanks, climate lunatics. So, yeah, the whole protesting like that's. I think like on one hand, protesting is the right, like according to the law and the Constitution, but on the other hand, come on, really, over climate change, they're as if two universities are gonna fix the weather. That it just can't be done. Finally, an op-ed entitled "Biden Probe, Trump Taxes" raised similar questions because the Supreme Court said that neither this House committee that subpoenaed President Trump for his tax returns nor the state of New York, which did the same thing, could take his tax returns. But the legality of them taking the tax returns is about the same as President Trump asking Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden. It's the same scenario. Politicians use their political power or their government power to target political opponents. It's just what politicians have been doing for as long as there's been politicians to do it. And it is no different. It's President Trump asked to send his personal lawyer to Ukraine to ask them to investigate Joe Biden. Now the House of Representatives and the state of New York and also California are trying to get their hands on Trump's tax returns through powers that are legitimately theirs. I mean, it's not like the Constitution says any constitution, be it state or federal, says you can only use your powers for this purpose or for this purpose. It just says all the laws usually say is this is the purpose this is the power vested in this group of the government or this is the power vested in the federal, this is the power vested in the state, like that kind of thing. It doesn't say the manner in which they should do it. So, really, the issue of trying to impeach President Trump over is about as legitimate and as Congress asking Trump for his tax returns. So, again, legit powers, but questionable motives. On that note, I say goodbye until the next Patriot Room Box. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great daily content.